It boils down to that question as of what's the tire and wheel combo you need to run so that you don't need a lift and still being able to do whatever you want to do with your vehicle. Hey guys, this is Naim from Paratus Expedition, and today I thought I'd make a small video while I'm here out on the trail before we head back home. And I wanted to discuss quickly a question that comes up all the time on forums and Facebook groups, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. And it's always that question, what kind of tire can you run on your vehicle stock? So I have with me right here a Jeep Gladiator. Though in this video I'll go through concept that works for all type of vehicles. It's always the same thing, so you can get benefit from that video even though you don't have a JT. And it's actually not a stupid question. You know, running bigger tires without a lift has a few advantages, right? You get less chance of tipping over, may you be in some incline terrain, so it's always good to have like a lower center of gravity anyway. Probably better MPGs, you know, the higher you go in terms of lift, the worse it is. It adds up, so I'm just putting it out there. If you care, good. If you don't, that's fine. And I think also the most important factor is probably your wife's not gonna be yelling at you every time she gotta enter the truck if she doesn't have to jump into it if you actually don't really need the lift. So I'll get over those options, and I'll also shoot some footage while I'm talking so that you can see where I've been wheeling the vehicle and if I had any issues or whatnot. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, so I've been running this configuration for a few months now. Before doing that video, I just wanted to make sure it works really well, and I'm not just like throwing up some bullshit out there, but I had absolutely no issue with my current setup. I'd like to allow you to find a setup that also works for you no matter what vehicle you have. It boils down to that question as of what's the tire and wheel combo you need to run so that you don't need a lift and still being able to do whatever you want to do with your vehicle. So if you're only pavement and you know just using the vehicle as a daily, you probably don't need that video, so I'm gonna save you some time here. Throw some 37s in there and pretty much you're good to go. Now if you're using the vehicle a little bit much, there's a little bit more research to do because that simple question is a little bit more tricky to answer, and we have a few levers we can manipulate to make that work. The first one is gonna be the wheel backspacing or offset. It's the same concept, it's just explained differently. I use offset, and I think you should too, but if you're still using backspacing, it's also really simple. If you want to understand the offset concept, or if you're not familiar with it, just take your tire and imagine a line right in the middle, okay? So that line right in the middle, if your wheel has 0 offset, it means that basically your wheel and hub is gonna connect on that center line. If your offset is positive, so say plus 25 usually, or plus 44 or something like that, it means the line is gonna be pushed towards the street, so that's the street side and that's the car side in that example. Positive offset is gonna push your wheel inside, and a negative offset is gonna push your wheel outside. So that's one thing. And for that, what you want to do is basically check out what's your specification, what is the default value on your vehicle. And for the JT, I know my default offset is plus 44, and it's in millimeter. That means the wheel is actually getting inside of the towards the vehicle side more. So that's what it is. And you basically want to keep as close as possible to that value when you do your wheel and tire combination. You don't necessarily need to change the actual default wheel like that the car came up with. I did, and I will explain why. but essentially, if you can find a tire that fits with your default wheel and you're happy with it, you absolutely don't need to change it. And the second lever we have, again, to be able to clear that fender, and that's something I haven't went through yet, but maybe I should do it now. And the reason why we are doing all those consideration is basically that your default wheel was made to, when it compress, get inside of the fender. So if you, on your car, it is the case here, and it's probably gonna be the case too on your vehicle, but the fender line on the side is basically lower than the actual space you have inside the fender, inside the wheel well. And that's because when your wheel is compressing, it's not compressing straight up. Remember, it's on an axle, so it's gonna be compressing up and inward towards the car. So if you have the right tire and wheel combination, that's what we are trying to achieve here, the wheel should be able to compress inside of the fender, not hitting the outside of the fender. And so it's all about finding that. So basically, with having a wheel, the width of the wheel too wide, you risk, or like a tire too wide, you risk like touching that outer fender instead of allowing the tire to compress inside, and thus you'll be losing some of that compression. And again, when you want to choose a wheel size, I would say consider also what tire you want to run on. So every tire has a specification as well, and it usually says, okay, you can run this tire on a wheel that is, say, 8.5 inches wide to 10.5 or 11. So note that somewhere. Here I'm running the Toyo tires MTs on 37, and they are 12.5 inches wide, which is the same spec as the default tires. My default tires were like Falcon Wide Peak on MTs as well. They were 33s, but they were also 12.5 wide. And I wanted to keep that to make sure that my tire would not be any wider than it was before, so that I could continue working well with the design of the factory fenders. In that example, this guy is, you can run it on a wheel width starting 8.5, I think. And that's what I did, because the factory one is 7.5 wide, and you really want to pay attention to that, because if you don't, your tire is going to have a weird geometry, your contact patch is not going to be great, the lifespan of your tire is not going to be great, and those guys are like $470 a pop. So I kind of want to have it the most life out of it if I can. So for all those reasons, I went with the method wheels. Those are 705 in 8.5 inches wide, and 17. I kept the same diameter, no reason to change it. And the backspacing is plus 25 millimeter. There are some wheels out there that are plus 38 millimeter, but you gotta keep in mind that I'm also switching to a way bigger tire. If you keep the same backspacing and go with a bigger tire in diameter, you put yourself at risk that you do have some rubbing issue when you basically are full wheel rotation, right? So when you're trying to rotate your wheel and you get to the stop position, you'll have a lot of scrubbing if your tire is bigger, but you didn't compensate that for a little bit. So I did push out my tire just a tiny bit. So yeah, a few millimeters outside, so that I could clear when I'm trying to do a tight turn. And more on that later.
Driver, go ahead. Driver. Back up. Back up straight. Yeah, now driver, all the way to the driver. Yeah, you're good. No, back up. Back up little bit. Yeah, now driver, complete driver. Yes, yeah. Straight, make it straight. No, no, driver. Yeah, straight. Oh, yeah.
So that's your second lever, and you'd pretty much be good to go. However, I'm putting the Jeep through some very gnarly trails, and I really don't want to lose any of that factory flex. It's already not that great, so I did add this TerraFlex 1.5 inch spacer in the front. Those are like $100, and they're like, you located, you have like a bottom part that is right there, you have the actual 1.5 inch spacer right up there. It's a 2-hour job, I'd say. But yeah, once you're done with this, it'll correct your factory rack, at least on the JT. And also give you that just a little bit of extra space you need to clear the tire at full flex. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the setup. Now, does it have any disadvantages? Did I encounter any type of issues? I would say there is one small thing that didn't bother me enough so that I went actively and corrected. It's when you would turn your wheel completely. That wheel, for example, if I turn it on the passenger side, I'll have some tight rubbing on that side towards with the factory front dash plate. So it just contact very so slightly here, and what you gotta do to avoid that, and what I'm doing right now, I know that if I turn completely to the stop, I'll just turn just just a hair, and it's not touching. It's not something that bother me that much compared to all the benefits I had from running that configuration for like 2 months now. And I've been sending it on trails just by having like a little bit more clearance, and having the bigger tire being able to absorb and walk on bigger rocks and obstacles. So if you look at the big picture, I think it's mostly positives beside that. So I would recommend to anybody considering the option. But yeah, in any case, if you're running a similar setup for another vehicle, please comment down below so that other people can benefit from your setup and your offset, backspacing, wheel size. Let us know, because I want that video not to be only for Gladiator guys. If you're running like a 4Runner, any Toyotas, just go for it. Comment down below what's your configuration. If you have any questions, same thing. The channel is brand new, so feel free to like, subscribe, share the video with friends. Maybe hit that bell button if you feel a little funky, but that's about it. I have planned a lot of new content with regards to a lot of DIY, because I'm gonna be putting a camper on the back, so I want to make some videos to show people how to build a camper with an affordable prices. We all know there's a lot of companies out there selling like great stuff, but you can do a lot of good stuff yourself. So yeah, I have a lot of content down on the pipeline. Stick around if you like, and until next time.